Optional parameters. So optional parameters can be declared in methods, constructor, and indexers. Let's have a look at creating a constructor, an optional parameter within a function. So let's create a function, static, that will be int, static int, return number, very simple function that will accept only one parameter, and that will be int y equals to 10. Let's do it this way. Return y, that's the function we created just to return a number you passed in. Okay, so let's try to run that function. Let's create a variable rest, which stands for result. Return number. Let's go and pass here 20. And then console.writeLine response. Okay, so we go .NET Run. We get 20 because we passed into this function, return number. We passed the number of 20. And because that's optional parameters, if you don't pass anything inside the function, it will return the number 10. In this case, we passed 20. It's going to be omitted. This optional parameter is not going to be used. And instead of this optional parameter, it will return the number I provided. I passed 20. 20 becomes y. We return y, it's going to be 20. Okay, let's go and create an example where we don't pass anything. Let's run .NET Run command again. That will be 10. And what happened if you don't pass anything? When you don't pass anything, the optional parameter comes into play. So basically, you don't pass anything here, but we have a parameter here. And it's why it's called optional. You cannot pass anything, and it will take the default value. The default value for the variable, which is a parameter y, is 10. If you don't pass anything here, the y becomes 10, and we return that value. As you see, we returned 10 and not passing anything. We can call many times return number without any arguments. That's going to be same result. If we .NET Run, we will see that there are two 10s. The number 10. It's automatically substituted if we don't pass anything. Also, if you want to declare a required parameter, you cannot do it after the optional parameter. Int x equals int x. That's a required parameter. And that will be an error because when you pass a required parameter, it always have to be the first one. So when you pass a required parameter, it has to go first. Optional parameters must appear after all required parameters. So we have to bring the required parameter before the optional parameter. Now it works. So we're passing 2 digits. We can do it like this way. Let me show you a little bit int and int. We will talk about tuples in the next tutorials, but I'll just show you in advance x, y. So we can do it like this. And var. So we do x, y, return number. And we're passing, as the first required parameter, we're passing 14. As the optional parameter, we pass 15. And now we can console.writeLine. X will be x, y is going to be y. Okay, let's give it a shot. And now as we see, as a required parameter, it goes for x, which is 14. And it returns our 14 number, and we console.writeLine it. And as 15, because it's an optional parameter, and if there is like empty space, if there is no parameter mentioned as the second one, then it will take the default, which it will be 10. And in our example, we have 50 as a second argument, and that's going to be console.writeLine our require our parameter we passed. It's not a default, but let's just remove that. Let's remove the second parameter, and I'll tell you in advance it will be 14 and 10 because now we're not passing anything inside this second argument. And that's going to take the default value of 10. .NET Run, it gave me the required parameter of x equals to 14, and the optional parameter y, which is equal to 10. Also, we can use here params, saying parameters. Parameters also has to be last parameter inside of the function. So if we put it prior to optional parameters, it's going to give us an error, and it will say a params parameter must be the last parameter in parameters list. So that's why even it's optional parameter, we always have to put params as the last argument. Params always have to be passed, or if it's not passed, then it will be an empty array. In the next tutorial, I'll explain about named parameters and how you can get benefits out of named parameters.